Hello, everyone, and welcome to Business Analytics A to Z. For a brief introduction to myself, I'm Scott, and I'm a lead analyst within the e commerce industry with about 7 years of experience in the industry and over 10 years of experience overall. I worked with various lines of business and products within e commerce, ranging from marketing, product and platform, and operation analytics. Within these roles, I delivered countless number of actionable insights in the form of analyses, reports, and dashboards at both individual contributor level and senior slash executive leadership level. Now, this course, this overarching goal is to train the next generation of data analysts and arm you with the tools to succeed in your next data analyst role. With that, let me move over to the course overview and what we'll cover in the course. We'll use a sample data set to draw business insights using business analytics. And let me back up here and explain the definition of business analytics in my thoughts. Business analytics is the process of using data, statistical methods, and technology to analyze a company's performance, identify patterns and trends, and gain insights to make informed business decisions, ultimately aiming to improve operations and achieve better outcomes. This involves collecting, processing, and visualizing data to understand what happened, why it happened, and what might happen next to guide future strategies. What kind of tools that I'll teach throughout this course will include querying, processing, and preparing data using SQL, doing analyses using Excel or Google Spreadsheet, and visualizing data to draw insights using Tableau. I'll be using a sample e-commerce dataset throughout this course to establish a continuity of what data we're using, what kind of problems we are trying to solve with this data, and help you build your own business analytics portfolio as we progress throughout the course. All right. I think that covers an introduction to myself and an overview of what we'll cover in this course. So now let's move on and start getting our tool set up. Hello, everybody. For this session, I'm going to show you how to install Tableau Public and get the software installed so that we can start using the BI tool to build data visualizations. Tableau Public is a free version of Tableau. For folks that are interested in getting the commercial version, you're more than welcome to pay and get the commercial version. If you're a student of a university, you might have access to the commercial version of Tableau through your university. So be sure to check. But first, in order to install Tableau Public, you need to first create an account. So let's go and do that. On the top right of the screen here, we can go into the sign in. For those who don't have a login or an account created with Tableau Public, feel free to hit the create an account button here and then go through this sign up page here. And then if you hit the create my account, they'll send you a account activation email to the email that you use here. So go ahead and do that. But in my case, since I already made my account, I'm just going to go and sign in here. And voila, we move on to the landing page where we come here. And then if we go here on the create tab on top, we will notice that there is a web authoring and a download Tableau Desktop Public Edition option. Web authoring allows us to build Tableau dashboards using the web browser if you have connection to the internet. If you prefer to install software into your local laptop or your computer, download Tableau Desktop Public Edition is the option to go with. So let's click on this. So now we're almost there. Once again, all we need to do is take 15 seconds to fill out this sign up. So let's go ahead and do that. For example, and then I'm going to use a personal user role, just so that I can build projects without being disturbed. For those who are actually actual university students, please go ahead and select yourself as a student. You may have some benefits there. Once you've done that, please go download the app here. All right. So as you can see here, my download is starting, and I have about 20 seconds left before the download completes itself. So bear with me and bear with yourself. All right. So the download has completed. So I'm going to go ahead and oh nope, it's still downloading and kind of loading into my machine. So let's give it a minute. All right. Yep, it's still downloading a little bit. Let's wait for a bit. One thing again, if you're using a Mac machine, whether that's the older version that uses Intel chips or the Apple Silicon, also known as the M1, 2, or 3 or 4 chips, um, the option is available in the website here as well. So feel free to click on these to install the right Tableau public software according to your machine operating systems. And let's see, let's just go here real quick and let's just go to download and let's see. That'll be it. So Tableau Public is still downloading for me. So let's hopefully wait. Okay, perfect. So the download has completed itself. I can now execute the installer. And from here, it's pretty straightforward. If you don't want to customize any options, I would recommend you to just go with the default options throughout the entire installation process. If you know exactly what you're doing, feel free to customize certain components of your install. I wouldn't if this is your first time. Obviously, for me, I have already installed Tableau, so it's asking me, "Hey, do you want to uninstall the 2024 March version and install whichever version that I have that's just downloaded, or repair the current version with the install that I've just installed and with the installer that I'm trying to install with." Either is fine. Obviously, if you're a first time installer, and just go ahead and install it with the default options. But in my case, I'm not going to reinstall Tableau. All right, that's it for the installation part. And then I'll catch you again in the next video where I'm going to go over some of the functionalities of Tableau Public. Hello, everyone. So for this session, I'm going to go over the basic functionalities of Tableau Public. Now, in the previous video, I've showed you how to install Tableau Public. Um, and in case if you have a Mac machine, I also showed you the link that you should use to access the Mac OS installer. Assuming that you have installed Tableau Public now, once you open Tableau Public, you should be on this landing page here. And it's asking, hey, if you have any existing projects or files, you can open them here. But in our case, if you're opening it for the very first time, you wouldn't have anything similar to me. Um, there's a few things on the left side here. It says connect, and then it gives you a few options to connect to a specific file based on their file type. So an Excel spreadsheet, for example, text file, JSON file, Access file, PDF files, and a few other ones. There's also a server option as well. There's an OData. And if I go into the More tab here, you'll see that besides OData, there's also a connector to a Google Drive, which means that if you have files that are stored in your Google Drive, Tableau Public can grab that file and import it as a data set for you. You'll also notice that Web Data Connector is deprecated, which means that this shouldn't be used going forward. Um, Normally for to a file option here, which starts from Excel all the way down to statistical file, these are normally your local files stored in your PC or your laptop. In my case, for this video, I'm going to import a data set that is sitting on my Google Drive. So I'm going to click on this. Let's see what happens. Now, bear with me. My machine is a little bit slow. Yeah, sure. So it's asking me, hey, Tableau is trying to access my Google account. Sure, let's let it do that. All right. And let's go back to Tableau. All right. So Tableau has accessed my Google Drive here. And so I'm going to go into my um, Google Drive where I only have a few folders here. And I'm going to go into my e-commerce order data set here. And unfortunately, you can't import multiple files at once. You can only import files one at a time. And in this particular folder here, I have 5 files. So let me see if I can do multiple files. Yep, I cannot. So if you double click on one of the files, you'll be now seeing this pop-up window saying processing request. Hey, great. So Tableau Public is relatively fast unless you have a real big volume of data that you want to import in. So as you can see, once we get in here, you'll see that my order revenue data frame CSV file has been imported in. This has 7 fields or columns, and it has approximately a little north of 89,000 rows or records. And there's a preview on the right bottom side of the page here. So we can use that to kind of see, hey, what data am I working with? And then on the left side bottom pane, we can also see the field and the data types and what the exact column names are for these fields. So if we go here, this is a data set regarding an e-commerce transaction or purchase transaction exactly. Um, and within the general perspective, at a high level, in any e-commerce platforms, there you would have purchase transaction information, and within that data set, you would normally have a unique order ID, which denotes a specific transaction made by a customer. The customer ID denoting which customer has made that transaction, and order status, was it delivered? Great. If it's something else, there should be something else. When the order purchase was made in terms of a date timestamp. And if I scroll a little bit to the right, when the order was approved at, so this is probably a payment related timestamp that shows, hey, when was a payment approved? And order delivered timestamp showing, hey, after the order purchase was made, when was the item actually delivered to the customer's doorstep? And or estimated delivery of the order. This probably be is something that the e-commerce platform estimates in terms of, hey, this customer has made an order of this item on this day based on our current supply of inventory or based on the distance and the available logistic options to deliver. This is the estimated delivery date of when the customer should get that item. So nothing too fancy. One thing I'll point out here is that if you click on this button here, you can actually toggle and you can rename um, your columns as something else if you would prefer to. For now, for my case, I'm just going to leave it as is. And also, if you click on the ABC here, right now this is a string, which is characters or varchars in SQL language. Um, so all of these values are in characters or string, but you can change them into different data types if you would like. Obviously, for this order ID column, these are characters, so you wouldn't want to change them into either Boolean or datetime or numbers. But if you were working with, let's say, for example, this order purchase timestamp, currently this is a date and a time data type, but you can also arguably convert this into a string. What would happen then is Tableau would reload saying, okay, I see this as a string value now. And I'm going to just show you exactly how it looks like as is instead of it trying to infer and show you the date and the timestamp. But for now, let's revert back into the date and time as it was before. To continue on with some of the other functionalities within this dataset page within Tableau Public, if I go into the top right, there is a filter section here, and then underneath it, there's an add button where it means that you can actually filter through the data set that you want to that you have just imported and use the filtered data set for your dashboarding. So, for example, if I click on add button here, right now for me, I don't have any filters, but if I click on the add button here in this pop-up window, it will show you a list of all of your columns that are inside this orders rev df.csv file. And if you want to filter through some pieces of data using a filter for a certain column, let's say, for example, order status, right? Then another pop-up window will show saying, hey, this is all the values that are stored within this order status column. Which ones do you want to filter for or filter out? So in my case, I can do all, and then let's say I want to just remove, hey, I don't want to look at canceled orders. And if I hit OK, this filter has been created. And once more, if I hit OK here, you'll see that one filter has been applied. If you want to change it or remove it, you can go, the add button has changed into the edit button, and you can click on the edit button now to either edit or add new filters on top of it or remove the existing filters. In my case, I'll remove them for now. Now I'm going to move towards adding some additional files that I have in my Google Drive into Tableau Public. There's a few ways of doing it. One is next to the connection on the right part of your screen, there's an add button here where you can go here and then select whichever available option to import additional data sets. Obviously, you can select Google Drive from here, or if you click on this very small database icon button here, there's a drop down that shows, hey, this is the available data table that you have in Tableau Public, and I could also add new data source, which does the exact same thing here. So once more, I'm going to go through my Google Drive, and unfortunately, you have to go through this process every single time, where you have to allow Tableau to access your Google Drive and whatnot. So let's go ahead and click the continue button. Now Tableau is done validating that I have access. I'm going to go into my folder that I have my data sets, and unfortunately, you have to import them one by one again. So I'm going to start from the top. I'm going to import the df underbar customers.csv file here. All right, so the df the underbar customers.csv file has been added into my data set or my data source tab here. I'm going to hit the add button on the left side of my screen to continue to add other remaining three files. So once again, go to my Google Drive, give access to my Tableau Public to access my Google Drive, hit the continue button again. Great, Tableau has access. And now there's a pop-up window that's showing, hey, this is your drive. And go to the folder that has my data sets, and I'll load in the third file here. Okay, awesome. And once more, let's load in the remaining two. So once more, I have to go through Google Drive again. Normally for commercial businesses or enterprises that uses commercial version of Tableau, there's additional options to connect to data sets or data sources. Mainly, for example, if that company has a database or a data warehouse, there's a additional way of connecting to directly to that database or data warehouse, and as a result, you can import multiple tables at once using a custom SQL query. And also doing filters within that custom SQL query instead of using the UI based filters that's available in Tableau here. But for now, we're using the public version where that connection to databases is not available. So let's go ahead and add our last final data set. Right. So I have all I need is the last one, the products. All right. Way to go. So we have now imported all five CSV files. And let's try to go over them and see if we can identify some of the relationship between these tables. All right. So to investigate and understand some of the relationship between some of these tables, what we can do is first off, let's look at the DF customer CSV file. I'll call this the customer table going forward. You can change the name of the table as well here to something else. Oops. Don't drop it there. You can change this to something else. For example, customer table or something. For the time being, I'll leave it as is. Um, and what you'll notice is this table's unique value is the customer ID. If you recall, if you go into our order revenue table, for example, and let's go here. Let me go back. And if you click on the button here under the next file of this orders rev df.csv file, you can see a view data option, which shows a preview of your data set up to 10,000 rows. You'll notice that the customer ID column exists here as well, which means that most likely the customer DF table and the orders rev DF table is joinable by some sort of join, whether that's an inner join or a left join or a right join for that matter, or maybe a cross join too. So let's go ahead and see if we can join these tables somehow. So let's whichever table that you imported first, in my case, is the customers table. If I click on the plus button here on the left side, when I hover over or hover near the df the underbar customer.csv file, and if I double click this, the view of the df the customer.csv file just changed slightly. Now, what you can do is you can drag click on the order rev.df, and here in the files, you'll see one CSV file here. You can drag this and drop it here. And what happens is now we have tables that have joined together. And if we click on the join relationship in the middle here, we notice right now by default, this is an inner join by the customer ID on the customer uh, DF table and the order rev DF table, respectively. Now, if you want to do something else, for example, let's say, hey, if we only have a inner join, we may be missing some customer IDs from the df underbar customers table. So we may not want to do that. We may want to make sure that all the customer information are existing in from the DF underbar customers. So we may want to do a full outer join or maybe a right join. Vice versa, if we want to only have customers relevant that has made purchases or transactions, and so as a result that is recorded in the orders underbar rev underbar DF table, we may want to do a left join or keep it as an inner join, whichever way. So we can do that. Let's see if I can drag this to the right. No, I can't. Fine. Because this is on the right side, let's do a right join. And let me confirm. As you can see, there's no null values for the customer ID from the DF under our customers table because we're doing a right join. So whatever customer information is in the orders table, um, all of the relevant information has been attached from the customers table as well. We can continue on and drag in some other information as well. For example, order items. If I do a quick view of the data here once more, we will notice that an order ID is existing, which means that this table can map or join with the orders table or the orders ref df table. It has some other information as well: product ID, seller ID, what the price of the item is, and shipping charges if there were any. I'm assuming because of the number here, this may be in dollar currency, maybe some other currency. I'll have to see where the location is. Maybe Brazil. Um, so let's click here and then let's drag this table here and let's just drop it in to the field volume here. And for this one, we want to make sure all of the order ID, all of the items that were originating from the respective order ID are captured. So we may want to change this from an inner join to a left join. So let's have a little bit. And as you can see, the left join has been applied. And we can continue on to join other tables. So for example, if we click on payment, well, actually, let's start with product because product is related to the order item. So if we drag this table here, by default, it connects to the order items. Great. Let's do a left join once more so that all the product information are attached to whatever products that are listed in the order item table. And finally, payment. I would assume if I do a view date of the payment, I would assume that this is associated with the order ID, and yes, it is. So for whichever order, what type of payment type was made. Um, if we do descending order or sorting, there's a few other payment types as you can see here. And payment installments, how many times did you divide up your payment to make a full payment and as a whole? Your sequence of your payment, was it your first, second, third, etc., and your total payment value probably of depending on the installment and the sequence. So this is associated with the order rev df or the orders table. So let's drag it and let's drop it near the order underbar rev underbar df table. It should join inherently with the orders table. There we go. Now what happened is we have two tables that directly connect with the order. Well, correction, three tables that directly connects or joins with the order rev df table, which is why the visual changed a little bit. Obviously, for the join here, once more, we want to make sure that this is a left join. So all of the order ID in the order rev df table has relevant payment information. I'm not sure if that's 100% accurate, but let's assume it is for now. And so as a result, and let's go ahead and hit the X bar for closing. As a result, we have tables that have joined by a lot of different things here. We can also review this again by clicking on the drop down button here and then uh, hitting the open button. Now, this is how you would normally use the joins. Relationships, if you drag tables directly from this screen, um, what will happen is instead of a join, which we're familiar with through SQL, a relationship will occur. And how Tableau defines relationship is very similar to a join, but depending on what kind of analysis you're doing, Tableau will intelligently assume how the table or different tables need to join together so that you can maximize your analyses. Normally, for me personally, I don't like to have machines do this for me. I prefer to explicitly define how I want different tables to join together. So I use joins, but if you want to explore using relationships, that's also fine as well. But okay, so that's it for the source part, and then I'll kind of go through a quick walkthrough of how we can build data visualizations in the worksheet part of Tableau Public. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We'll go through some basic functionalities within Tableau Public once more. And this session specifically, we'll go over building simple dashboards or visuals in this case, based on the data set that we just imported. So on the left pane, we do see that we have these uh, data tables. I should have renamed it to be a bit more clear, but I didn't. Um, and some of the columns within each of the data tables in our left pane or list here. Obviously, the ones in the blue that has a, a globe or an ABC string, they show as geographical pieces of data or string pieces of data. For things like order approved at timestamp, this shows a date time for order estimated delivery date. This shows as a date. Um, and if we scroll down a little bit more, we'll see numeric column data types such as price, shipping charges, payment installment, and so forth. In the bottom here, we'll see some other pieces of information that are, um, what would you call it? If you hit the drop down button here, you'll see um, not the dimension, but measure version of the respective geographical representation of the data or a string or numeric. So, um, l- you know, obviously we have an e-commerce data set here. Some of the things that we may be interested in is, hey, how many orders were how many transactions were made by customers in each year, for example, and I want to see that as a line chart just to see the trend of the increase or decrease of orders year by year. So we can do that because if we click on the show me part here on the right part of Tableau, we can see, for example, bar charts or line charts. If we hover over them, we'll see that for line or continuous charts, try having one date or zero or more dimensions and one or more measures. Now, that sounds a little bit confusing, but at the end of the day, what that means is measures, once more, are values such as numbers or calculated um, outputs or metrics, I would say, while dimensions are something such as dates or some sort of categorical value that would go on the y-axis, the x-axis, while the measures, if you think of it from a graph standpoint, would be going on the y-axis. So, for example, if we want to create a line chart of orders, let's get the order. Now, I did mention that we need to have a measure. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to uh, click on the drop down button for the order ID here, and I'm going to create a duplicate here. And I'm going to convert this from a dimension to a measure so that we can use that for the y axis. So let's go ahead and do that here. And then let's go back to the purchase timestamp here, and let's just drag and drop them here. There's many ways of creating graphs, but normally how I like to do it is just drag and drop items into these specific field wells. Um, as you can see, by default, what I've done as a result, you see that I've created a discrete line chart. This is discrete because years are broken into solid numbers such as 2016, 2017, 2018, and so forth. It's not by seconds or by time. We can also convert this into a measure as well, um, or continuous, I guess, in this aspect, which we can do. And then if we want to increase granularity, we can change that to quarters or month or day, for example. So let's go with quarters. So as you can see, quarters. This has been changed to quarters. Now, what is the bad part of this is that when we use this as a continuous data, we don't see the years here. And that's because we changed the granularity. So let's go back to the year. And then if you click on the plus button, when this is a discrete value, we can increase granularity one by one. Now, if we click on the plus button on the quarter, you'll get the month, and so forth. And if we want to get rid of the quarter, for example, let's get rid of that by dragging it here and just dropping into the left pane. As a result, what do we see? We see in 2016, when the data starts, which is from September and onwards, we see some trends of the number of orders that have occurred throughout each year. As you can see, for 2017, this was a big year for this e-commerce business. We saw a lot of orders increase over time throughout the year. For 2018, we see gradually the number of orders decreasing over time. And I will not look at from August and onward, because this drop probably is because we just don't have enough data towards the end. So we can only consider up to August. But as you can see, sales have been relevantly flat in 2018, which is very contrasting to 2017 specifically. Some of the other things that we can do is if we click on this create a new worksheet button at the bottom here. And so once we created a new sheet here, we can create other visuals such as, let's say, a map. For example, how can we do this? So if we go to our DF under our customers table here, we have multiple information about the customers, such as city, state, and zip code. I don't know which state or city they're part of, but let's try to look at this from a city granularity, for example. And what I'm going to do is if we hover here to the show me once again, you'll notice that for maps, this requires one geographic dimension, zero or more dimensions, or 0 or 1 measures. So I'm going to select customer city because this is a geographic dimension, and I'm going to drop it in the color here. Sure. Yes. Let's add all members. That's fine. And if I click on the show me and the maps here, this takes me to Brazil, surprisingly. Okay, so it seems that most of the customer information comes from Brazil, which means that this e-commerce data most likely comes from a Brazilian e-commerce platform. That's great. Now, as you can see, what has happened is once I have dropped this into either the color pane or the detail pane, in this case, the detail pane, that shows which customer city each of these dots are. Now, this is great so far, but that doesn't really tell you exactly a lot about the data that we have, such as order volume, or the amount of revenue or profit generated from customers from different cities and so forth. So, as a simple exercise, we can also look at the order ID and try to see how many individual order IDs were generated from each city. And how can we do that? We need to transform the order ID into a measure, specifically a calculated field. So how can we do that? We'll discuss calculated field more in detail in other videos. But as an example, we can go here and drop down and then go to create and hit calculated field. And we can do something like we can call it whatever we want: calculate order ID, count, and we want to count the distinct order ID. So we'll do a count D and then hit OK. And then by doing so, as you can see here, we have created an order ID CNT here. And I'm going to drag this, and I'm going to put it, I'm going to drag this, there we go. Drag this and put it into color pane here. And let me see if I can drag this once more and change the size of this. Now, as you can see, the colors vary very slightly because the order count doesn't. Most of the green dots here, they're mostly very similar in the hundreds units. Now, specifically this one city here, surprisingly, Sao Paulo, yes, this makes sense that this is a big major city in Brazil, has a lot more order counts, which is why this specific city has a darker color. Similar here, Rio de Janeiro has it's a big city once more, so this has a bit more of a contrasting color compared to other greener um, colors here. I think you can change the colors by changing out the edit colors here. So right now we have an automatic palette, which is okay, but we can change this to, for example, something else like orange and blue diverging and apply. As you can see as a result, now you can see that Rio de Janeiro shows a little bit more of a yellow, while other cities are more orange. And Sao Paulo itself is blue on its own, while most of the other cities around Brazil is orange, just to kind of highlight more of a concentrated order and where that's coming from within Brazil, as an example. But this is some of the things that we can play around with. Obviously, we use cities as an example, and this may not be the best representation of our volume. It could be, maybe not. Maybe zip code could be a better solution. We have the information here, or we may want to look at cities if we want to look at it from a more high level overview perspective. Um, but I'll let you play around with this, and then we will continue on and looking into building insightful dashboards in the next session. Thanks, everybody.